Hello. So some of you spoke lately about the fear of the blank page. What I mean by that is this fear that comes up when we sit in front of a white sheet of paper and we are worried to put our pen down because we could ruin it. And it's a good analogy. When you are in art, you can observe this many times. Maybe you get to a certain place with your drawing or your sculpture or something, and you just even worry to continue because it already looks kind of like great and you don't want to spoil it. And I want to invite you to draw a parallel to other places in your life, because I'm not teaching technical drawing or something like this. I just use it as an analogy to understand other things that happen for us in our lives. And we so often have this feeling of, okay, it's already good, let's not spoil it. Whether that's in a conversation with someone, maybe the evening is already good, or thing with our partners running perfect, and we don't want to bring up a desire, or we don't want to introduce something new. And in my art practice, I come up at this spot a lot, and I have learned to work with this spot. It's like I don't ignore it, and I'm also not like many people say, you just have to do it, or you just have to spoil it. And that might be true in certain places, but sometimes there's just really a lot you can risk, and there's a few things that I do that keep me going and that don't have me stagnate. Because ultimately, if you always stop and you may leave the perfect, beautiful face left on a blank page because you just don't dare to draw a background, then you will stagnate somehow. Same with like a relationship or something like this. If you don't dare to introduce new things into play, it will stagnate, and it may look perfect, but also boring at some point. And with this piece, some of you have probably seen me work on this. It has progressed quite a bit. I'm drawing this based on a construction that I have drawn on. Now it's been already many hours of me creating light and dark and structure just by placing tiny dots with ink. And in here you can see there's a doorway. Let me change the lighting a little bit. You can see probably better. There's a doorway, and inside this doorway I want to paint a landscape with acrylics. And as you know, acrylics is based on water, and ink is also based on water. So if you have dry ink and you pour some water on it, you're gonna spoil it. It's gonna look terrible. So it's a huge risk, but at the same time I also can't just start with this part. The process doesn't allow it to me, because I need to know what the surrounding looks like first, how dark the whole image gets with my ink, before I can create the landscape and the light and the dark in it, in order for it to marry well together. And again, feel into this, because this is not about a drawing, but this is the same in other areas of creation. We think, oh, just draw the acrylic part first, draw the difficult thing first. But sometimes we just don't get to do that. Like, we sometimes are tied to a bit of a chronologic order in order to get this thing going, and you have to work with it. So what I do, I don't leave anything to chance. I don't say, oh, okay, fuck it, I will just do it. If I ruin it, well, whatsoever. I already spent probably a good 40 hours just placing dots, and I don't want to ruin this, because not just for the time's sake, but it would sort of crush part of myself. It would discourage me. I would not just like start from scratch. I would probably give up at that point if I would ruin it, and I don't want to get to that place. So I want to show you this here. This is a board that I use, and I use a fresh sheet of paper, and I have traced out, I've masked out the exact shape of the door. Before I've done this, I have already tested. Here you can see that I used the back side of this. Before I started this, I used the back side of it. There were about 3 different kinds of masking tape on it, and I would use the paint, let it dry, and then I would compare which masking tape gives me the best results. So already, like, just putting down the masking tape was kind of like me testing what will give me a good result. One of them was like one of the best masking tapes. I pulled it off after 1 hour, and I had a ton of glue residue on the paper. It would be a nightmare. If I would have that on this, I would be so upset. So the cheapest masking tape gave me actually the best results. So again, it's a way of working sensitively and attentively with whatever you are dealing with, and paying close attention to it, and not just going by risk, but actually there's a place for risk, but there's also a place for like where you can take something out and test it somewhere else before you place it into your actual environment. There's ways to do this in life, to do this in relationships, to do this in your art process, and to do this in any other area of your life. So, and then once I had this done, I would start drawing with my acrylics on it. This is just a test. It's not how I want this to look, but I was just like tested it, and then I started peeling it off. Had a little outcut of the doorway in acrylics. I already noted how the paper would behave because I used exactly the same paper that I'm using here. Noted how it waved. Got really upset about that. Was like, oh my god, maybe it's the wrong paper. After it dried, I realized the paper would straighten back out better than I thought it would. And then at the very end, I took it off the board and cut the thing out. And have this piece. Yeah. It's not an amazing acrylic drawing, it's just like sort of in the direction of where I want it. And then I can place it for a test in my artwork. Right? And again, so this, I introduced this after I've tested it, and there's an element of patience that's required, because we also sometimes we go for the risky version because we're just too impatient to actually try it out and get it going well. And this is like Same with ideas. Like a lot of people, entrepreneurs or people that create things, have an idea and you go immediately at it and you go immediately and like tell everybody without testing it and without actually like getting into it and getting to feel the whole thing for yourself. And then we keep getting drawbacks and getting disappointed and lose our confidence around it. So and now I could see, I put it in here and I could see, okay, so this is way too dark. This is way too dark for me. I want it lighter. This is going to be hard to integrate. I don't even know yet if I'm going to work with the acrylics there or if I'm going to choose a different technique. That's totally up to the process, what works best for it. But I started to see, okay, I get a sense of where I'm going with this and how I'm going to change the process going forward not in order to like merge myself to the process, but in order to find ways how I can use techniques, the masculine aspect of the whole work, how I can change the techniques in order to get to my vision, in order to get to what I want to create. And that's really the most important aspect about this. It's really all down to what you want to create, what your vision is, and what is the story that you want to tell. And then you slowly work yourself to it. You don't have to be perfect and already know everything from the beginning to the end. There is an eraser that you can use when you do a sketch. That's the beauty of doing a sketch. You can erase things, you can start over, and you can keep working on it. And I sometimes start with something, and I always like these days I always acknowledge everything as a first stage, and then you draw over it and you draw over it and you work the sheet of paper until it is where you want it to be. But the first sketch, the first dot you place on the blank sheet of paper is never perfect. It becomes perfect through you keeping your attention on it. Okay. I hope this was helpful. I hope it helps you to... I have a friend who says this fear is like jumping out of a plane for her, and I hope this helps you to jump with confidence because you have checked your parachute and you have made sure that you are landing on a flat surface and not in the ocean where it's scary and you are out of control. All right, have a great day and enjoy your whatever you create. Bye.